All right, everybody, we're back again. We got Corellia this time. We're gonna go ahead and go through all the battles here, and I'm gonna show you the teams that you can use to go ahead and hopefully full auto all of these missions and buy yourself some time back. You know, a lot of people like to do it manually. There's no problem with that. It's just to the extent that people want to save time and they don't really enjoy the battling. This is for them. But you can also manually play all of these teams as well. If you have teams that I don't use in today's video and you think that they are good full auto candidates, go ahead and put them in the comment section down below, so that way everybody knows what other teams they can use, because some people may not have the teams that I have, you know, and everybody's kind of differently situated. So there's definitely many ways to skin this cat. So first we're going to talk about the special mission. So this requires Qi'ra and young Han at Relic 5 at least. I run it with L3 Rey and Commander Ahsoka Tano, and this is a full auto team. You don't really have to worry about much with this team. You just throw it on auto and you get the special mission points. This is a big reason why I suggest that everybody go ahead and really strive for special missions, because in a lot of cases they're pretty easy and straightforward and they pay dividends pretty permanently. So there's been a big push in our guild, mostly led by me, I'll admit. I've been on people to go ahead and get all those special mission teams up. It's something that we really stress, and we get a ton of get to currency, which translates to relic mats, all the gear that you could need, really. Definitely solved the Qi'ra crunch hand over fist back then. We're not really having a problem with that anymore, scoring 44 stars. But the special missions are often overlooked by people. They'll often start doing platoons and getting those all figured out before they start working on their special missions. They'll usually push stars before they work on special missions, and that's just really a mistake. We've had people leave the guild and think, you know, oh, well, I can get a couple stars over here if I go with this guild, or maybe I'll get a little bit better reward with the territory wars. But at the end of the day, those guilds don't typically focus special missions, and when they don't focus special missions, they don't have the same type of income that we do from these. You know, I call them payday, and we end up with, like, especially phase 3, where we have 4 special missions, just getting paid like 6,000-7,000 get to is just a great feeling. Like, it just really feels like all of a sudden you can buy all the gear you need, or all the salvage you need for gear to keypads or impulse detectors or whatever it is that you're going to use your get to on. This one happens to be for get 3, one of the few missions in territory battles that pays get 3. So unfortunately it's not as much as we would like. It's only 15 versus 50 for the get 2 missions, but it's still something. And if you get enough get 3, you can buy Omicrons, right? So that's a huge benefit for people. But as you can see, that team's never at risk. It's on auto. Works pretty well. And especially with, we're in the situation where our guild doesn't really need to do any of the combat missions to 3-star all the planets. We just deploy and do our platoons. But the special mission is mandatory, right? So getting that out of the way, never missing that, is definitely a key to success. So we're gonna go ahead into the non specific tune mission. This one's Jabba, this one's Aphra, this one's just the middle, and I'm gonna go ahead and use the Mandalorians for this. Make sure you set all your squads up in here, people. Have lists. It makes things really easy, cuts down on a lot of the time spent figuring out which characters you need for what team and remembering. And a huge problem that people have in territory battles is they'll often find that they use a character that they weren't supposed to use because they needed to use it for somewhere else, right? That's a big issue. So making sure that you have the squads covered, you'll guarantee yourself that you don't have any overlap like that. So it'll make it much harder to make a mistake, rather, by using the same tune in a zone that you weren't supposed to use it, right? And also, typically, I mean, unless your guild is changing tiers a lot, changing game plans a lot, your platoons are probably going to be pretty set in stone. You're probably going to have a pretty good feel for what platoons that you have, and by setting up these squads, you kind of make sure that those characters aren't used, as long as you take the platoons into consideration when you're setting up your squads, right? Also, you want to make sure you go ahead and do your platoons before you do any battles. That's a safe practice. to make sure that you don't mess up and accidentally you can't use a platoon or can't fill a platoon because you were the one guy in your guild with the R8 or R7 or the R9 that, you know, just had to do it. But yeah, Mandalorians make quick work of this mission, no issues at all, and you can just kind of breeze right through it. There are some missions where it's, you know, like an 85% chance of full auto, right? There's every now and then there's a mission that can kind of, something weird can happen, especially when you're on full auto, and maybe you don't win. And I haven't lost one with Mandalorians, and I haven't lost one in the special mission yet. But getting into the Aphra mission, there are cases where it's gotten a little bit dicey. I'm actually going to try a new strategy that somebody said was a full auto strategy. Normally I would, you know, because I didn't have Aphra for the longest time, I just got so used to using Krrsantan in the Jabba mission. So Aphra was kind of, you know, when I finally got Aphra, I was doing some weird stuff. And now I realized that, oh, I don't actually need to use Krrsantan, probably, most likely, for the Jabba mission. So you're going to see a couple squads that are, they're supposed to be full auto squads, but we'll go ahead and see. This is going to be the first try. So that one's all wrapped up. Let's go ahead and go over to the Jabba mission. This is the one that's probably on the safer side, even without Krrsantan. We're using Boushh, Boba, Lando, and Embo. I think you're pretty safe to use a different Hutt cartel too if you needed to replace Embo with something, but we're just going to go ahead and run this on full auto. But the point that I was ultimately getting at was, you know, even if you don't have 100% confidence in the full auto, most of the time you're not really risking a whole lot by messing up on a mission here and there, especially in phase 1. You know, obviously some guilds are differently situated and it requires a lot more combat missions in order to guarantee those stars. But as time goes on, this is the good thing that I love about territory battle, is that it usually only gets easier. Your roster, your guild roster usually only gets bigger. People only get more and more GP, more and more character teams to use. And so as you go on, it does typically get easier. Now, obviously the more teams that you unlock, then the more requirements that you have to do. But as soon as you're doing all the requirements, it tends to get easier, right? And you know, I remember when we were trying to make sure that we 3-starred and we had to have everything exact so we could get 9 stars in the first phase. Boy, that was a long time ago. But now we don't really have that issue. We don't even need to do combat missions. So just funny how that works. Time goes by, you know. But this one seems pretty straightforward. Even without Krrsantan, there was a little bit diciness in the beginning, but the good thing is with Jabba's ability, if you go into the second wave, they all come back and they all have damage immunity. So even if it looked like we were in danger for a moment, we definitely weren't in danger going into wave 2. And so that'll kind of wrap that up. There went Skiff guard Lando. Oh no. Another thing about territory battles, it doesn't matter how many people are alive at the end, you still get the full credit. And Jabba's really good for soloing things. So if he can solo the R6 planet or the R9 planets in phase 5 and 6, I think we're okay to go ahead and take out phase 1 Corellia. Okay, so now that that was a success, we're gonna go ahead and move on to Aphra, which is again a team. It's probably pretty standard to use this team. I just haven't in the past, mostly because Krrsantan was missing. I was previously running like Malik, just all the overpowered tunes, right? Like Bane and stuff. But we're going to go ahead and give a more appropriate squad for her a chance. It should be full auto, but I don't have the greatest mods on B1 and my BT1. I don't have the greatest mods on him, and his relics aren't that high. He's only R5. So I'm a little skeptical on this, but we'll see. We'll see if it pays off. I don't know if they do manual targeting. Occasionally, you know, you can have a full auto squad, but you just need to do a little manual targeting. And you'll just have to feel that out for yourself and see if there ends up being a squad like that where you need to manual target, but it's still way better than sitting there picking and choosing every single ability. This actually looks way, way better than the other nonsense. It's almost like this team has synergy or something. But yeah, so this is why I asked that everybody go ahead and put any teams that you found work for you on full auto, put those down in the comments below so that we can all kind of test and benefit and use them. and maybe you like one more than the other. And also you can end up freeing up tunes for other combats that you thought you needed for this specific mission, right? It's all kind of like a puzzle. We're just looking for all the different pieces to get us the max amount of points usually. It's kind of dicier on this one. They do a lot more damage, but I think with all that stacks Aphra has, it's gonna be okay. She can drop the AoE. People should be going down. And I think Krrsantan might come back. Oh no, not without the Datacron. I don't know if he comes back if it's under Aphra instead of Jabba. I've really never used, and I didn't max out the Kron for Aphra last season, so I didn't even use Krrsantan there really. But all said, it's pretty tied up. Full auto face. Okay, now we're going on to the fleet. We have to use Lando's Millennium Falcon. This is one of those situations where we could find ourselves in a little bit of a pickle on the full auto side, but I haven't really had any issues. So again, make sure you put your squads in the squad page in the squads menu, so that way you save yourself some time and energy looking for all the tunes. So we're doing Houndstooth with Razor's Crest, Lando's Millennium Falcon's required, and then we got Punishing One as the first reinforcement. And Punishing One's really changed the game for a lot of the fleet missions, made it a lot more consistent on a lot of the Executor stuff. So yeah, I kind of can't remember if I'm supposed to start Punishing One, but this phase has never really given me an issue, so this one should be all good. Just so much damage coming down, even on their tanks right there. Also, let me know in the comments down below if you guys are like where you're at in phase 1. Are you still at the point where you're you know, hoarding points? Are you holding back GP so that you can go ahead and finish it off in phase 2? Or are you at the point where you are getting 9 stars in phase 1 and doing everything? A lot of guilds are doing different tactics, and they have different strategies in order to go ahead and get up there. All the different GP requirements. It's crazy to see so many guilds that are like in the 28 to 34 star range that still aren't doing Zepho. We'll talk about that more when I get to Zepho on my guide here, but that's one of the planets I definitely go for early as possible, personally, because it just kind of eliminates the Qi'ra crunch when you start doing it, especially if you stack in special missions on top of that. So, but yep, this one looks pretty clean cut, and we're almost wrapped up here. This is going to be the second video in a series of many. I'm going to be doing guides for all the planets that I currently have access to. We go all the way to Vandor, Malachor, and Ring of Catherine. So now that we're kind of doing most of this, you're going to get quite a few guides on this. Again, this isn't the definite way that you have to do it. These are just suggestions for full auto teams. But yeah, you can expect a video for each of the planets. I want to create a playlist that everybody can just kind of refer to so that they can get all their information, know what teams to use, and then, you know, buy themselves some times back. So that's ultimately what it's about. If you got value out of this video, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and hit the notification bell so you know when it goes live. With that being said, you all have a nice night. Talk to you later.